Good morning, everyone. Great to see you on this Friday morning. It's a little bit chilly in Sydney, and I think mostly across the nation, except for Queensland, who thoughts are with them at this time as they're struggling with some bushfires up there. So I hope that they subside really quickly and get this under control for them. Welcome to another Connect and Share by Outdoors New South Wales and ACT, and we'll kick off with some of the need-to-knows that are happening around the traps. But before we do that, I'd love to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands in which we all meet today and pay my respects to elders of past, elders of present, and emerging leaders that we know that we want to continue to work with and do better in connecting people with country and the understanding of our Aboriginal beginnings. So this week, again, I can't believe we're at Friday. It's been a big week, but the most urgent thing I need to let you know about is a product recall. If anyone has a Petzl Astro or Canyon Guide harness, we ask you urgently to check these harnesses. There was a notice that came out this week around the gate opening. So please, if you have one of these harnesses, grab it out, check it, and also go to the Petzl website for all the details on what you need to do if you have one of these devices. This will go out in an urgent industry alert today, but if you could please just have a look at that in your equipment list. Yesterday, I was really lucky to present to over 100 careers advisors. Who would have thought that there is a conference for these positions? So they all got together in Sydney this week. And I was able to run around to all the tables and present to over 100 of them about the careers in the outdoors. So look, the takeaways of this are we need to do more. If I heard, oh, I didn't realise that was a career option for anyone one time, I certainly heard it 8 times or if not more. So this is something that we've got to continually strive to do better in. And I think the other thing too is the conversations that were had with the schools were really pleasing in acknowledging that they didn't know about the stage 5 elective, but there were some schools that were just about to introduce it. So we're really building a great network of understanding around the elective and what that could do for just awareness of our space in general. I had the opportunity on the same day to duck up to see Excursion Safety's workshop, which they presented to a group of schools around managing risk when it comes to off-site or off-campus opportunities. Unfortunately, they actually had to move location, but it actually worked to their benefit because they held it in a place called International SOS. And I'm not too sure if many of you know of International SOS, but their facilities and what they do for everyone across the country are absolutely amazing. And I'm hoping to get them on to one of the Connect and Shares soon to fill you in on what they do, because it's certainly something that a lot of schools particularly could take advantage of when they're overseas. But the workshop itself was great. They talked about all the needs and analysis on risk management for schools, but also ensuring that kids still remain having these experiences, that we're not sort of, saying, oh, it's all too hard. These things can be managed, and it's really important that we get our kids out and experiencing these fabulous opportunities to enrich their knowledge, their understanding, and of course their education. And big thank you to Helen for running Friday last week. She did an outstanding job. And I was at the Human Ability Workshop, which I couldn't be with you last Friday, but it was a great session. Now, Human Ability, next Friday, I will be talking a lot more about this organisation and what's actually happening, but you might know that they are one of the Jobs and Skills Council set up by the federal government to be the intermediary between industry and of course the training skills. So we've got a lot of needs in this area. I urge you to certainly feed through to ourselves any areas that you see the vet system can do better, and we need to advocate on behalf effectively for the whole industry. Jeffrey, did you want to say anything? Because I know you were with me in Melbourne.
Yeah, look, I wanted to add that the difference in this current setup for working with skills and qualifications is that the government is not funding the development of qualifications. It's funding the skills needs, which in most cases looks like the development of qualifications, but it actually goes far beyond that. And so therefore our opportunities may go a lot further than what they did under the model that had been around for the previous 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, great. Thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention. It is a very important distinction. Last Friday was really just the Industry Advisory Council members coming together, getting to know one another, also setting a bit of a framework about, how we operate, but starting to get into the nitty-gritty of what has to be in the plan for human ability. Next week, I'll be in Alice Springs to also, again, support human ability in a lot more of understanding the industry and some of the gap areas, hopefully reinforcing where we're already at, but having some great conversations around some of those areas that we might have not considered. The next one is in Canberra. So some of you might actually know about that or getting to that event. And that's on I think the 23rd, of November, somewhere around there. And that will also, again, look at those areas. So, Megan, if you don't know anything about that one, or Aaron, maybe I should suggest that you get to that one if you can. Okay, can't get to it, you don't know. Right, okay. Aaron, you might be able to. I'll send you some info and hopefully we can get a bit more of the outdoors and the recreation side. As you may know, human ability covers not just sport and recreation. It covers human services. It covers healthcare and aged and disability services. So it's got a huge remit, and certainly something that we need to be conscious of is ensuring that we are incredibly part of that conversation. Thank you, Jeffrey. Put the dates in there. It's the 20th to the 22nd of November. It's actually a 3-day event in Canberra. So thank you for clarifying that. I did get the dates wrong. Okay, so what's coming up that you need to know about? First thing is for those that are in the tourism side of our industry, this is a great opportunity if you're wanting to tap into international markets. So Tourism Australia is now opening their expressions of interest for the Australian Tourism Exchange. This is the need to go event if you're wanting to get into the international market and talk to international inbound sellers and buyers. And so at the moment, you can actually apply to be part of this, and it closes on the 30th of November. So if you're not too sure about it, give me a call and I can talk you through what this event is all about. But it is a great event for those that are really already in the international market, but really want to promote more of what they're doing in the international arena. And again, Tourism Australia have advised that they're going to have a quick update on the 3rd of November at 11 a.m. About all things to do with inbound tourism and what that's looking like for Australia. So again, if you're in this area of the industry, great one to sit in and listen to. Destination New South Wales, you might remember some time ago, partnered with EarthCheck to look at sustainability skills and a micro-credential that will support businesses. That closed, but they've now reopened a round 2, which is great because this is quite a substantial investment they've made for New South Wales businesses to get this qualification and also just look at how they could be more efficient, get more knowledge in sustainability, and really think about, their impact in this area as a business. It is certainly something that we've all got to be conscious of as we navigate through the years ahead. I attended the Australian Regional Tourism Convention a couple of weeks ago where there was a huge focus on sustainability. And I was a bit shocked to see that we actually have a climate change policy at Outdoors New South Wales, and we were one of 4 that put their hands up when the question was asked if people had a policy around this. So we need to do better, and this is a great way to get started in this arena. New South Wales First is also another initiative of Destination New South Wales, and this is open to any business that is wanting to improve their skills in selling online or look at their inbound strategy. This might be someone just starting off in the inbound area. So there's a lot of workshops coming up. They are free to attend. So there's Dubbo next week, there's Sydney the week after, Broken Hill that week as well, and Wagga the week after that, for anyone that's wanting to upskill themselves in being able to sell their product online. The inbound ones are on the 2nd of November and the 23rd of November. The first one's in the Tweed and the second in the Shoalhaven. So you can certainly register for those on Destinations New South Wales' website, or via the newsletter that will be coming out over the weekend with all the relevant links that you need. Now, the Office of Sport have got a great event coming up around child safeguarding. And as you all know, we now need to abide by the child safe standards. So this event is on the 23rd of November. It's 1 hour and it's free to attend. And they will be going through some of the online safety aspects when it comes to sport and recreation. So another great one for all of us who work with kids. Western Sydney Moving have their symposium coming up. It's just around the corner. And this will be at Blacktown Exercise, Sports and Technology Hub. It will be on the 16th of November, and it'll be from 8 to 4:45 to be exact. So if you want to come along to that, there'll be a lot of topics around trying to get active recreation embedded into particularly Western Sydney. But there's probably some great takeaways for other areas as well if you happen to be in the area. I will be sitting on a panel at that event around advocacy and how we need to do better in that space. But yeah, we'd love to see members there if they're able to join us. And then on the 23rd and 24th of November, the ACHPER PDHPE conference. So this is the one where all of the teachers that teach PDHPE come together and look at professional learning. So a big thank you to Morgan Huxley, who's been a huge advocate for outdoor education in schools, but also the Stage 5 curriculum, who's going to be co-presenting with me at this event and educating these teachers on trying to get into the outdoor education space, whether it be through the Stage 5 curriculum or just enhancing their outdoor education offerings. So we're looking forward to that event and hopefully promoting more opportunities for kids. A huge grant available for everyone here. If you are in active recreation and you would require some better facilities for ladies and for women, there is a grant that is available to a large amount of money. So this is an opportunity not to be missed. If you jump onto the Office of Sport website, go to the grants link, you can apply for toilet facilities, bunking facilities, a whole heap of range of different facilities that will support more girls and women getting into active recreation. So a great opportunity to jump onto. And you might have heard this, Helen announced this last week, that the new funding has been announced by the federal government for TAFEs. Now, this is a large amount of money. We're talking $12.6 billion, of which is going into centres of excellence, which is a combination of TAFE and universities, but also into looking at critical and emerging industries. Now, it's very early days, but we'll be watching this one very closely because obviously TAFEs are an essential ingredient to our industry, and we need to maximise these sorts of opportunities as they arise. So that jumps onto the submissions part of the information for today. And we do have quite a few plans of management and plans of precinct planning that's going on. So for those in the Blue Mountains, you might know of Katoomba Falls Reserve. There's an information session on Saturday, the 4th of November between 10:30 and 12:30 around the planning process of this precinct. So if this is a crucial area that you have an activation in or activities, this is probably a must attend. So have a look at that. More details can be found on Council's Have Your Say website through Blue Mountain City Council. The Montague Island Plan and Management is still an exhibition, and that will be so for just under 4 weeks. So if you're wanting to do anything on this island, or you already do, a great opportunity to have your say on what's allowed on that space. And Dorrigo, we've got the Plan and Management on exhibition until the 15th of January, but they have let us know that there is an online Q&A session going to be held on Wednesday, the 8th of November. So again, if this is an area that you do some activities in, it might be a good idea to jump on to that Q&A session, or you can drop in to the 2 events that they have at the Dorrigo Rainforest Centre. The first one on the 17th of November, the second one on the 18th of November. The ANZCO Code Review, number 3, the third and final opportunity for us to have our say and make a better condition around how we are measured as an industry. You'll notice on our website, we have an article on our blog page, which really does articulate what we really need when it comes to ANZCO Code review and what we need as an industry. So if you have not submitted yet, I urge you to jump onto our website and get that information, and feel free to copy and paste and send it in, because the more we actually refine our processes for how we are measured, the more recognised we will be, and will certainly support things like our immigration when it comes to jobs and anything like a labour agreement, but also just skills and priority needs for our industry, not to mention understanding our industry value. So they're all very, very important parts that we need to be able to analyse, and that will help. And then speaking of TAFE, as we did earlier with the investment by federal government, the New South Wales system is reviewing what's happening. Now, there's a lot of things going on in the TAFE area at the moment in reference to outdoors, and this is our opportunity to really put forward our concerns, our opportunities when it comes to the New South Wales TAFE system. So please, I urge you all, if you have a thought about this or a need about anything to do with TAFE, this is your opportunity to jump in and certainly have your say. Events coming up. So we have the ACT members meet up on the Monday, the 27th of November. So that's at 5 p.m. at the Southern Cross Yacht Club. So we'd love to see all of our Canberra members there. It looks like we've got quite a contingent coming along, so it'll be a great opportunity to catch up, and look forward to seeing you all there. Western Sydney Moving, as we discussed, on the 16th, and the ACHPER conference on the 24th and 25th of November. And as we round out the year's Connect and Shares, we've got a good number of topics coming up. Today, we're going to be talking about what we expect for 2024, what we need to be ahead of, and maybe some of the needs that you might want from us, certainly. The 3rd of November, we'll be talking about human ability in a little bit more detail. That will obviously follow the event next week, and we'll be able to give you a bit of insight into some of that discussion. On the 10th of November, we have Western Sydney University coming along to talk about a project that is highly connected to our space. And the 17th of November, we'll be talking about outdoors and how it matches or doesn't match in the New South Wales curriculum. 24th and the 1st of December are still being worked out. We've got a few options there and being locked in, but 8th of December will be our last Connect and Share for 2023. Amazing that we've had, what are we up to? 162, I think was today. So a lot of information for our members across the year. So I'm going to close the presentation there, and I just wanted to quickly ask everyone if we could just bring up some of the topics that you think are going to be very important for the outdoor industry when it comes to 2024. What are some of the burning issues or some of the opportunities that you are seeing as we enter next year? Aaron.
We're going to go alphabetical. Is that the plan?
Oh, you may as well, since you're AA.
I don't know. Like probably the biggest thing right now for us is around the staffing piece.
Okay.
You know, we're still rebuilding post-pandemic, and we haven't quite nailed the staffing piece down perfectly yet.
Yep.
We're not sure if we're going to go for a trainee model or if we're going to look at direct entries.
Okay.
So, but it's like staffing is a really big issue for us as we try and scale up again. So it's probably
Yeah.
the biggest thing. Insurance is like trying to get insurance for things like the facilities and the property, bushfire insurance,
The
bit of a
property,
nightmare
yep.
still.
Property insurance, yep.
But I suppose they're things, yeah, they're the two that sort of jump off the page.
Yeah. Just on the staffing, Aaron, can I ask you a few clarifying questions? First of all, do you know how many staff you're actually needing next year?
How long is a piece of string?
So capacity grows, sorry, demand grows with the capacity. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think we're taking, I think about a dozen early in the year is what we're after, and we're getting some of those.
Yep.
But like in the last couple of years, and historically, we've had a training type model, you know, Cert 3 or Cert 4 traineeship or similar into employment, and we're just reviewing whether that's still the best way forward post pandemic, and we're exploring other options and seeing how they are all going to fit together. You know, we still use a lot of freelancers and casuals and that whole balance. So it's hard to say how many full-time equivalent we'd need offhand, but yeah, I mean, at least a dozen would be handy as we head back towards our peak periods. And then the second half of the year for us is looking fantastic. So we'll probably need to keep scaling up some more then.
Yeah, right. Okay, good to know. The I just from even yesterday's conversation, you know, knowing that we have traineeships in this industry was very well received by teachers, but acknowledge that that may not be a solution for the actual worker for you and what the quality is. But yeah, certainly it was incredibly well received for those that had no idea about how we offer traineeships in the industry.
Yeah, right.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And just on the insurance piece, and you might have read this in my news or other Connect and Shares, but certainly the property area is our biggest concern at the moment. Public liability seems to be somewhat under control with the measures that we've put in place with insurers. The property side, we are working with the federal government on. The Assistant Treasurer did travel overseas to meet with some of the reinsurers and the insurance key people in not just London, but in Europe. And certainly they are looking at this across the board because it's the property area that is the biggest worry for Australia right now.
Yeah, has there been many centres that are burnt down?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Good.
Yep.
Could you share that news with them?
Yeah, and look, can I be honest in saying that the Assistant Treasurer's aim in that visit was to educate, because all insurers that underwrite are located overseas. So their knowledge of Australia is limited by what they hear and see on media. And often it's when we have bushfires that we're seeing, or when we have floods or tornadoes. Sorry, not tornadoes, cyclones.
Yeah,
tornadoes.
Calamities, sharks and
that's
bushfires.
right. So that education piece is incredibly important when it comes to, giving that certainty for underwriters. So, yeah, you're right in saying, you know, that there hasn't been many incidents in our space, but, it's just that knowledge piece.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Would anyone else like to share some of their things that are on their agenda for 24?
Yep.
I'll have Go for it, Al. We are going in alphabetical order.
Well, I thought I could jump in. I would just like to say that from where I am, there's quite a lot of interest in finding safe, well-organised destinations to send groups for programs. And the conference things that I've experienced up here have certainly, without any prompting from anyone at the Australian end,
Yep.
other people have popped up the Australian activity standards and sort of held that up as a very significant and important and internationally recognised thing that no one else has really got.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the strong marketing points, as are what everyone else understands to be the benefits of Cert 3 and 4. And we might think there need to be a few changes, but yes, those things are looked highly upon. And I think for a lot of operators in Australia, linked in with what you were saying earlier about inbound tourism, these things are key factors to promote, to convince potential clients in this region to get on the plane and get down there. So I think the work that's been done to sort of look after outdoor operations in Australia is building a good reputation.
Yeah, great piece. Alan, just for those that don't know where you're coming from today, do you want to just let everyone know the region you're talking about?
Oh, okay, sort of. So I'm next to the Brunei River in Brunei, at the sort of geographic centre, little place on the northwest coast of the big island of Borneo, the second biggest island.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
So there's a lot of demand up there for experiences, and you're talking school kids, aren't you? Yeah. Yes,
and with the wraps off COVID, a lot of schools are looking for venues, and a lot of them are looking for quality venues, experiences for the kids that matter, that are good for them, that get their school a strong reputation, and keep their kids safe but challenged.
Yep, great. And just on the culture there, is it very much aligned to outdoor education thinking, or have we got a bit of work to do in that space?
No, there's a lot of it going on, particularly amongst the sort of international schools. There's a lot going on. And parents, whether they're, expats or locals, are starting to connect the idea that if the kids do these things, their academic performance seems to go up. I've seen a few yacht clubs absolutely overwhelmed once they published a bit of information about how the kids that are doing the sailing course at the yacht club are also in the top group for A-level performance.
Wow. Okay, good testament. That's brilliant. And for those that also don't know, Alan works for Intrepid, so obviously a key travel advisor when it comes to where these kids go.
Actually, it's not the Intrepid that you think of in Australia. That's
it's a different Intrepid. Oh, okay.
No,
sorry.
They just happen to have the same name as my company.
Okay. All right, here I was assuming too much. Alan, please fill us.
No. And I asked them, would they like to write a rude letter so I could take it to the business registration people and get another name? And the business registration people said, no, you're not allowed to have more than one business name, and they never bothered sending anything because I figured they figured I was pretty, inconsequential. So yes.
Okay. But you were in a similar field, is that right?
Yes, I've been doing a lot of schools and outdoor ed training and inbound tourism, but more oriented to schools and outdoor ed stuff.
Right. Thank you.
That was after setting up OB up here.
Yes, of course. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Okay.
If we do go alphabetically, that means Beck's next, but I'm not too sure if Beck's available to chat. She could be trying to multitask because we can't.
I'm here, but I don't have anything to contribute really. I'm just listening.
Perfect. No worries, Beck. Thank you so much. Well, the next one in the alphabet is David. Oh no, Bridie. Sorry, I missed Bridie. Bridie.
I think the biggest thing for us up here is just trying to get staff who are, I guess, the right skill level for the work that we've got. General consensus around the industry is the people coming into the industry are the greenest they've ever been. They're getting less hours on the cliff before they start, needing longer to do it. They're running a hell of a lot of courses, and so all of our senior instructors are actually working basically full-time teaching the next generation, which is going to make things a bit interesting, I think, once the semesters are over. Because we've got people already approaching us going, hey, would love work, finish work for 5-star here. And it's like, well, you haven't worked for us for the rest of the time. And so it makes it difficult. It's either take them on because they're highly, highly skilled and they're awesome. But then what happens with the people that have been working for the last however long? So I think the industry up here is going to be a bit interesting with roping. And everyone's struggling to find staff at this time of year because it's very busy. Plus, they've put on all of these professional development stuff as well. So should be interesting. But also just, I think, making sure that all of our processes and that sort of stuff are tight and that the industry's the same so that we don't have incidents, or if something happens, because something might. I mean, rockfalls happened and, you know, things like that, that we actually tick all the boxes that we need to, and there's no question. And it's one of the things I was talking to Laurie about yesterday is the cost of getting access to standards. So if you want to, you know, reference the risk management standards, then what's the cost of that? And if you want to reference that new lightning standard, or not new, but, you know, new to me, it's an Australian standard and apparently it's worth a mozza.
Yes, it's very expensive.
Can't afford it.
Non-transferable, which is a big challenge. Thank you so much. And yes, it's just on the update of TAFE Blue Mountains, certainly still trying to get in to see the minister to understand where our roping sits. You know, with obviously there's nothing being offered for 2024 because all that's now had to have been declared. But you know, it's to the point of getting incredibly beyond desperate. We were desperate last year. Now we're beyond desperate for roping skills to reactivate. So
it feels like they're trying to do a soft closure of like a, hey, we're not running. Hey, look, we haven't run it for years and nobody's complained, so let's just not. Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much. All right, Dave, have you got signal enough to contribute?
Have you got me there? Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Okay. One of the things I think would be really good is probably whether it's state or national, is I'm getting a lot of stuff about equipment maintenance, what equipment to use, how to use it, when to retire it. So developing a guidance note for that would be a good thing to do, even if we start with a state one. Yeah. Particularly, I'm seeing leaders sending me photos of equipment that should have been thrown away 20 years ago that organisations are expecting to use now. Yeah.
Yeah, frightening. Yeah. Okay. No, that's a really good point.
The other one I think that we need to be proactive on is working with all of the various agencies plus our First Nations people and environmental organisations about how do we ensure reasonable land acts for both commercial clubs and general recreation. There's quite a number of things happening in Victoria that are a bit disturbing. Stuff being closed, and for cultural reasons that seem not to be clearly defined, for instance. And I think that's a matter of communication with the poor communication with the various groups to some degree. The other part of that is that when we get storms and fires, making sure there's funds for getting the main recreational areas and main areas for outdoor education, etc., commercial operations open fairly quickly. That's what I'm driving to at the moment. We've got trees down all over a piece of river that's used by locals and tourists to float down on tubes as well as commercial operations. And if we don't, and there's no funds to fix it. Hold on, what if someone dies? The coroner's not going to accept that as an excuse.
No, really good point. Interestingly, on your state based planning and also these funds, I was interested to see, and some of you might already know this, but I found out in America they have something called SORBs, which is state outdoor recreation plans. So they actually enforce every state to have an outdoor recreation plan in the US. It was really interesting to see. I don't know, did anyone know about those?
I am aware of them. Yeah, there was that document that the old Minister for Tourism, John Pantazopoulos, who's the chair of Parks Victoria Board at the moment. He did that adventure tourism planning thing that I've been trying to get rewritten at some stage. We probably should do one for Victoria, for New South Wales, to help with Victoria.
Yeah, well, this one was quite broad. It was all outdoor recreation, which actually all the land managers were the drivers behind it. So, they actually enforced that as opposed to destination promotion or development. But, really good point on the adventure stuff too. Thank you. Awesome.
One more.
One more. Sorry, Dave. Yep.
Okay. If we're going to win with things like the award, the national, the stuff around, what is what are our jobs within the industry? We've really got to get all the other states. In Victoria, you're not allowed to call it an industry. It's got to be a sector, for instance. So they're still arguing 20-year-old stuff. I don't know about Queensland, etc. But if I was a government minister federally or a senior public servant, I wouldn't be doing anything for the industry in Australia because we don't think industry.
That was good timing on that delay, wasn't it? So I wonder who sort of enforces that sort of terminology. That's an interesting point. Sorry, go on.
I believe we're an industry. An industry is what, it provides jobs, economic benefits, a whole range of things. And within the industry, there are sectors, outdoor education or whatever. I think that fits best with me. And I've been arguing that for the last 30 years.
Certainly from my perspective, that's how I see it. And that's, I suppose, thinking of with a government hat and an advocacy hat, the importance of an industry and its value to the economy is certainly first and foremost where you get best engagement with policy. So yes, I totally agree. We have education sector, we've got a recreation sector, we've got a nature therapy sector, we've got a tourism sector, but it's all under the outdoor industry as I see it. But happy to be told otherwise, but that's certainly what I'm pushing.
Well, no, I agree.
All right, Helen, anything for 24 that we need to consider that we haven't already talked about?
Yes, there's firstly something for the end of this year for the 8th of November. And I know you touched on it briefly earlier, but got a active and outdoor careers explorer event in Spears Point on Wednesday, the 8th of November. So there's going to be around about 300 students from the sort of Central Coast Newcastle area coming to Spears Point to do an interactive session. So if there's anybody there who would like to kind of come along and present to students and just engage them in outdoor and active careers, feel free, just get in touch and I'll send you out all the info. It's just in the morning on the 8th of November. So love you to come along. And then the second thing which is something for 2024 is the IOERC, the International Outdoor Education Research Conference in Tokyo, Japan, from the 4th to the 8th of March next year. I'll be presenting there, yay, on the stuff from the PLC research that I did early, you know, over the last couple of years. And also one of the sessions, one of the conference sessions is a visit to OB Japan, Outward Bound Japan, on the 2nd and 3rd of March. So I've already got in contact with them, and I'll be going to that one. And I think they're doing a session where you go out and make a snow cave or something. So it sounds really fun. The conference will be good too.
Totally professional development. It's all very but no, these sorts of opportunities don't come around that often. So yeah, well done for grabbing that one and making sure that you're there. And no doubt there'll be other things that come from conferences like that we need to consider back here in Australia. So thank you so much. Jeffrey.
I guess the 2024 piece, just with my being mindful of my Scout background behind me, the Scouts have had an RTO since 1996, and it has been predominantly for their members. And 2024, we have got a new division, and we are doing a commercial division of the RTO. Now, what does that mean? That part of that, obviously, we want to focus on some outdoor quals. We've got other things as well, but outdoor is obviously a significant part for scouting and what we do. And so there's some challenges for us in that space. One of those a few people have touched on already, staff, because the member version is all volunteers to volunteers. This commercial version is paid to paid, and so it's a different setup. So there is a staff issue, getting enough staff and enough appropriately qualified staff to be working in that space. But also at these early stages, we're working with organizations, not with individuals. So where companies or other organizations that have staff needs, whether small or large, doesn't matter. If they're small, we'll put a few small ones together. But we're working with, we're not doing a TAFE model where you're out advertising to individuals. We're working with organizations. So at these early stages, but it is going live in early 24. So from that, my primary employer perspective, that's a big piece of news for next year. But the other thing, and it relates to that, but it's different, is my personal projects around the qualifications and what happens in the qualifications. And Alan touched on that maybe there's some updates required. I would agree. However, I'm not always in agreement as to why some people are suggesting upgrades, and Alan didn't say why, but there are certainly improvements we need to make. There's also some work with the universities that have agreed on a common pedagogy of knowledge for outdoor ed, and some linkages from at the diploma level through to that work has started, but it's been very, very minor, and a lot more needs to happen in that space throughout next year, and I would probably imagine even into 2025 as well. So there's a fair bit. Now, some of that touches on to what Laurie was speaking about earlier, relating back to human ability. Other is the linkages from the vet to the higher ed sector. So and other relates to some Scout and the Outdoor Education Innovation Hub projects around micro-credentials and how we use things that way. So that personal thing, yes, it takes up a lot of extra time around getting our qualifications right.
Yes,
So,
without lack of staff and getting them skilled up. I'm seeing a common theme in the discussions this morning, which is good because, you know, as Outdoors New South Wales ACT, we're definitely on to a lot of those areas and working with government and others to try to help. But it's not going to happen overnight, that's for sure. But thank you so much. And Jeffrey, I just want to ask, I'm hearing micro-credentials a lot, and certainly, you know, when it comes to government policy as well, you know, it's a bit of a buzzword. It's I think it's going to be the word of 2024. Can I say, you know, when McCrindle says what the word of the year is, I think next year is going to be micro-credential. There's my prediction for you.
Micro-credentials is a bit of a buzzword. It's not new. It's really old stuff, but it's a new way of representing it. I am really, you know that I've presented at a few conferences on this, Laurie. It's not a quick, it's simple information. It's not quick to present at all. I'm happy to present at one of these connection shares around it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. And just to ask one quick question, because I was asked this the other day, and I certainly responded, but I'd love to hear your response, knowing so much about this space. But someone said to me, what is a micro-credential? Is it just a piece of credited framework that exists in a qualification, or is it someone that's just made up something and said, congratulations, you've completed this learning?
It can be both of those, but there are requirements around it. So it can be both, which is a little bit scary, but there are requirements. So therefore, that's why I think it does require a lot bigger presentation around it. But if someone has just made it up, then it still requires an assessment. It still must have some minimum requirements. But yes, it can be both. It can be part of a fully accredited qualification, and it could be we've just made it up.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just as a comment, for certificate 3 level or for qualifications, in other words, a leader, or a leader qualification, they work best when the individuals are tested for their personal skills before they start the course. In other words, trying to teach them how to abseil and be an abseil leader, for example, at the same time is quite difficult, and you often don't have enough time. So having a barrier, to entry, in other words, you've got to have the previous experience, personal experience, so you don't have to teach that. That works really well. So some micro-credentials might be in that certificate 2 level, the personal skills. That's an area we don't do because there's no money in it or something, That's
a really good point. Really good point. Thank you so much. And lucky last, other than myself, is Megan.
Well, I think in our space it's a little bit different. So a big focus for us for next year is going to be looking at the additional requirements and the qualifications that we want our organisations and our teachers to hold if they are taking out different activities and different things. So yeah, our policy is up for renewal next year, so that's going to be a big piece of work in speaking with lots of stakeholders and all that sort of stuff to find that out. For context, ACT Department of Education, for anyone that doesn't know where I'm speaking from. And then also looking at some of that other stuff with training, which Jeffrey, I know you're fully aware of OLMP and things like that, but trying to get, we're trying to upskill a lot of our teachers, and there's scholarships for them to do so. However, a lot of them aren't taking that up.
Yes.
And then it's quite difficult to also find trainers to be able to run those courses. So a lot of us are doing them because we know they need to happen, but it is taking its toll. So just that shortage across the board is quite difficult.
So similar theme, just different state, different territory. And actually it was raised a couple of times yesterday. I sat on a couple of tables where there were ACT schools, and they said, where can I get my teachers qualified? And I said, oh, we need to talk. We might have a solution for you. But what I don't have a solution
email me.
Exactly. I don't have a solution for is the students, because, you know, if they want to get into it, It's a huge gap in the ACT. It's a huge gap in Tasmania. It's a huge gap in Northern Territory. We lack the RTO assistance, to bring them into Cert 3 and Cert 4. So hopefully, Scouts, no pressure, Jeffrey, might be the option that we can look at in some of those areas. So great news about that. Amazing, guys. Look, from my perspective, there's probably just a couple of things that I just want to reiterate and look, I'm not detracting from anything you've said. I agree with everything that everyone has put forward, and I thank you because it's re-edified where we sit as an organisation and what we do for you. I suppose from our side, we'd love for you guys to really consider the changing demographics that's happening in society today, and certainly reiterating that our cultural migration, and that 1 in every 4 families in Australia now speaks another language at home. So how are we looking at how we adapt our practices and cut through in a good communication, a transferable communication, but an understood way to some of these people that we want to get into our opportunities. The other thing is the increasing disability rate. So not dissimilar, 1 in 6 has a disability in Australia, and how are we looking at how we adapt our practices to be really fully inclusive? And now there's going to be some areas where it will be incredibly challenging, but to have the best social license we can in our space is what can we be doing better to ensure that we have full inclusion. And if I can give you this picture, and I think it was done by Mandy Baker, who ran a session, our masterclass, and Aaron, you might remember this, Alan, you might remember, but she had a great image where this little boy was at the fence and he was trying to, stand over the fence. So they put a box there. Well, that's adaptation. But if the fence was lowered so that he could see and everyone else can see, that's fully inclusion. So where is our fence lowering when it comes to how we adapt our practices and ensure that we have that accessibility available? The other areas is obviously the emerging generations, and we're going to start seeing them come into our workforce, and with our low staff numbers and trying to get people into our space, these new generations are very different to any generation before us, and trying to understand a little bit about that. And you can see from a presentation I think I did a couple of connected shares ago around the differences in how they want to work, how they want to be part of an organisation. And also, as we get into certainly cost of living crisis, and more so as we predict interest rates rising again next week, the need to keep our staff is obviously more on their side than ours. So how do we utilise our staff while they really want to have a consistent wage and condition with us, knowing that it's probably not where they want to be personally? So, and that sort of is reflected through the McCrindle research in saying that a very large percentage of those aged up to 25 right now, their best scenario is entrepreneurship. They want to have their own business. They want to be in their own activities. They want to have total responsibility over certain aspects. So as we need our staff and they need us, how do we work with that mindset? How do we empower them in our business to take that responsibility on and be that entrepreneur that could help elevate the businesses in our industry, while we navigate, of course, getting extra resources into our businesses? If that makes sense, I'm glad, but if it doesn't, I'm happy for people to reach out. That was a very short time frame in which I wanted to just get those couple of points across. But I can't stress enough that this is an area that we all need to consider, because, the new generation, long service leave for them will be 3 years. They won't be sticking around for long, and we're going to have to adapt accordingly. How do we use them while we have them, but be able to progress them up and be an organisation that stands pride in their staff, and then that way they are referring others to us, and we build a good culture in the industry. So look, on that note, I might close it there. That was a lot of content for everyone, and certainly things that we've got to look at for 24 as we get into more of our strategies. And thank you to all those that attended our strategy session this month. Our board will be tossing that around in December, and we'll feed that back to all members on where we sit with our priorities so that we can help you better. So on that note, have a great rest of the Friday. Sorry, Alan. Yeah.
Can I just say two quick things? One is a comment that came out just very shortly ago about 3 years and we've lost them. This is not new. It's been around forever. And I think we just have to accept that that's the reality of the industry, that a lot of people will be able to contribute a terrible lot and really enjoy their involvement in this industry and learn a lot. And then they will move on to another phase of their life. And my trips around Australia, in the last 18 months or so, meeting up with old staff, they say things like, no, if I hadn't done what you caused me to do many years ago, I wouldn't be where I am. So I think we need to understand that we do that to people, and if we run things the right way, we are not a sort of just a short flash in the pan and that's it. We are setting people up for life in the way we run a staff. The other thing is, I even up here I see a lot about bushfires, but in talking to some people that used to go out on fires with me, who are now involved as fire captains, etc., what they're saying is it's very difficult to get young people into these things. And one of the significant hurdles is too many hurdles for entry. Too many certificates, admin work, everything else. They're saying when the fire alarm goes off in their little communities, they've got to struggle to get enough old guys to get on the fire truck to go out because making it too difficult. We need to find a way to draw people in with sufficient qualifications that we can safely let them loose in a limited scope and then grow them.
Yes.
So if we make those hurdles too big at the start, they won't come. That's the message from the bushfire area. And I suspect that's why we have so many fires now. It's easy to blame, what do you call it, climate change, but there's another thing running. There's just not enough people out there.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. All right, guys, well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all next week. Have a great week. Bye-bye.